This video has been funded in part by the Guild via Patreon. Check out the links in the description or at the end of this video for more details. Game provided by Koei Tecmo America.
Hello everybody, my name is Gildart, and welcome back to another Pros vs. Cons mini-review. In fact, the last mini-review of 2021. Though it was Dynasty Warriors that helped me fall in love with Koei Tecmo and their games, the very first that I played from either company was Monster Rancher 2 on the original PlayStation. And now that the first two games are available, remastered, and in HD, I am excited, I am ecstatic, I am elated, I am other words that start with the letter E. I remember being a kid and playing Monster Rancher 2 for the first time. I was so drawn into the idea that a creature resided in every CD in our house that I literally tried every disc we had to see what sort of monster would come out. Thinking about it now, Monster Rancher was really ahead of its time. I'd equate it to Toys to Life games like Skylanders, Disney Infinity, and so on. You know what, now that I think about it, that's a huge missed opportunity to bring Monster Rancher back. Anyways, we're not talking about the future of Monster Rancher today, we're talking about the history. The first Monster Rancher game released back in 1997 for the original PlayStation, and the sequel released only 2 years later. This will actually be the first time I play Monster Rancher 1. I have played pretty well every Monster Rancher game since 2, so I would at least say I'm familiar with the series, its mechanics, and what to expect. I even did a video on Monster Rancher Evo back in the day, so check that video out if you're looking for a good laugh. It wasn't a review, but more of a story time video of my experiences with the game. Seriously though, I am super proud of how that video turned out, but today we're not talking about Monster Rancher Evo, we are talking about Monster Rancher 1 and 2 Director's Cut. But before we get too far into that, don't forget to give this video a like, comment with your thoughts below, and of course subscribe if you haven't already. Now it's time for a good dose of nostalgia. Alright, ready, set, pros! Alright folks, I can't lie, I am so happy with how this game looks. Like I said, I have a lot of nostalgia around the second Monster Rancher, so jumping into that game and seeing the upscaled original models is just so good. And you heard me right, these visuals are upscaled for modern displays. I grew up with the original PlayStation, so I'm actually really happy that they didn't try to go to the route of a full-on remake, and instead gave us the original game with some general quality of life upgrades. First of all, for those who are unfamiliar, the Monster Rancher series is a monster collecting and raising simulator. Think old school Tamagotchi meets Pokemon. Though I would say it's closer to the first Digimon world than Pokemon for comparisons, how you would find the monsters is by putting a disc into your original PlayStation, and it would read the data off of that disc and give you a monster based on that. It was so cool. But how did they replace that in this game? Well, they didn't really replace it, but they brought it into a new generation. When you go to the shrine, you'll be able to search games or music CDs by searching the title or artist. If you're looking for a game, you can search the publisher in the artist field. I think this was a great idea because I honestly can't think of anything else that would be a good replacement for the original system. They've even added some modern Steam games to the mix. I got this really badass looking hair in Monster Rancher 1 by using Samurai Warriors 5. Of course, I had to name it Nobunabbit. And that's the other thing, you build such an actual care for the monsters you're raising that you will feel fully immersed into this game. You have to raise your monster by either giving it jobs in Monster Rancher 1 or training it in Monster Rancher 2. Depending on the job or training, different stats will increase or decrease. The game uses a monthly calendar. For every month, there are 4 weeks in which you can do your training. There is an option of training that lasts a whole month long where your monster may be able to get some extra items or learn new moves. The main reason why you train your monsters though is to bring them into tournaments. If you're able to claim victory in the official tournaments, your monster will rank up. Just to put it into perspective on how immersed you can get, I would let my monster battle using the AI rather than commanding it, and I would actually be saying out loud, back off, put some space between you and the enemy, get a hit in, the time's running out, get one more hit in! I got to a point where my first tournament with Nobunabbit had my first 2 opponents forfeit, and I actually laughed out loud. This is why I made the story video for Monster Rancher Evo. It was because you can really create your own story in this game. You decide what sort of rancher you are. It truly is up to you how your monster grows and develops. I will also mention that there's a fast forward option that can help you get through the grind of raising your monster and battling in tournaments. I tried not to use it often when recording, but it was so useful. I also like it because the music and sound effects don't get sped up too, so you can pretty well leave the game constantly on fast forward and not be bothered by it. The final thing I'll mention is that we get some things that weren't originally in the Western release of these games. Some new monsters have been added, and on top of that, a whole mode for Monster Rancher 2 was added. The Pocket Station mini game of jobs was brought back. If you go to town, you can sign up for a job. From there, if you go back to the main menu, you'll be able to select the jobs off of the side and play the mini game. It's actually pretty challenging. You have to press the directional button to the side that is higher. If both numbers are the same, you press down towards the equal sign. If both numbers were to equal 10, you press up. It seems pretty simple at first, but it is definitely a challenge thanks to the time limit. But with that, I've covered all the pros that I have so far. Now it's time for the wrath of the cons! Now, even though I praise this game for its visuals, I do need to mention a few things here. First off, when you start the game up, the highest resolution that's selectable is 1600 by 900. I'm really surprised they didn't go all the way to 1080. You probably won't be too bothered if you play the game in full screen, and since the models are so low poly, it wouldn't really make too big of a difference, but every now and then you can kind of notice if you look closely. The other thing about the visuals is that the textures are still pretty jittery, just like they were in the original PlayStation. Although this helps with my own personal nostalgia, I don't think it's a good experience for someone who is new to this era of gaming. You can also tell that this game was developed more for mobile than it was for PC or Switch. I played on PC, making this the first mini review completely of a PC game, and I'm kind of disappointed. Both Monster Rancher 1 and 2 maintain their 4:3 aspect ratio. On either side are some buttons that scream mobile game. I started playing this with a controller but found it so much easier just to click around on the screen instead. The only thing with that is that you get this big white ripple effect when you do it. This just solidifies the mobile feel. I mean, it even says tap to start on the main menu. It would have been nice to see the Switch and PC version remove the touchscreen buttons and go fully 16 by 9. The other option, of course, is to keep the 4:3 aspect ratio, remove the touchscreen buttons, and create controller and keyboard options that feel more in line with the platform we're using. I will also mention that you can't map any keyboard keys to the touchscreen button options. Instead of mapping things like OK, back, menu, etc., you're mapping the keyboard to an Xbox controller layout. As well, you can't just click the button, then type the key that you want to map. It's a drop-down menu that feels super clunky and dated. It really would have been so much better to just allow the player to map the various touchscreen prompts and the arrow keys. Finally, the last piece that I'll mention is about the return of the Pocket Station minigame. As cool as it is that we here in the West can finally experience this minigame, it is a relatively lackluster experience. With Monster Rancher 1, the jobs you have your monster do will earn you money when it's successful. You'll earn 100 gold for the basic jobs and 150 gold for the bigger jobs that give you more stat increases and a stat decrease. This helped so much with finances in that game because every month you have to feed your monster as well. And if you keep losing at tournaments, it can be pretty expensive to carry on a ranch. In Monster Rancher 2, you still earn money from tournaments, but you won't earn any money from training. So the Pocket Station Jobs minigame is the only real way to earn extra money to help fund taking care of your monster. The main thing is that this takes way longer to earn money. I find it's not really based on your score, but how many files you've been able to correctly complete. So for the amount of time you put into this minigame, it is not worth the piddly amount you earn from it. It's just much better to summon a monster, train it for about a year or so, then sell it after it's earned a bit of fame. I really wish that wasn't the case, so you could raise a good monster right from the get-go if you knew what you were doing. But money is important in this game. And just like in real life, I find I'm spending it mostly on food. In the end, this was an incredible trip down memory lane. Monster Rancher 1 and 2 Director's Cut took me back to the days where I barely had a care in the world. Back when I didn't have bills, work, or any stress in my life. It was also really cool to play the first Monster Rancher and see where it all came from. I had no idea that the first Monster Rancher had jobs instead of training. And going back to Monster Rancher 2 and training some of the monsters I was so used to, like Zoom, was so nostalgic. And that's why I give Monster Rancher 1 and 2 Director's Cut a thumbs up. Though I had some complaints about the general quality of life things and visuals, overall, that doesn't impact how much fun I had playing this game. I felt so involved in raising my monsters, and the simulation aspect was so immersive. Though the resolution doesn't go to the full 1080, I was so happy to be taken back to the original PS1 style graphics. If you've never experienced a Monster Rancher game, this is a perfect one to start off with. I can't recommend it enough, and I am so happy that I can go back and play Monster Rancher 2. But I'm gonna stay away from the Pocket Station minigame. Anyways, everybody, thank you so much for watching my mini review of Monster Rancher 1 and 2 Director's Cut. If you enjoyed it, give it a like and subscribe for more. Also, leave a comment below with your thoughts on the video and let me know which Monster Rancher game was your first. If you'd like to help support this channel and what I do here, you can join the guild just like these awesome people that you're seeing on screen right now. You can join them at the end of every single video for just $1 a month. There's other rewards and other tiers as well, so check out the links that you see on screen, and I will see you all down in the comments.